Hello there everybody, this is Trevor, and this is going to be my first video. Give you a little bit of a breakdown of what my goals are and what I'm trying to do and what you can expect out of this show. So basically it's going to be all about healthy trucking, different ideas, a lot of cooking ideas. There's also going to be some workout ideas that you can do in and around the truck. So right now just a breakdown of a couple of the things that I keep a hold of in the truck and things that I recommend that you have. So right off the bat, slow cooker. This is one of your best friends. Pick them at a truck stop for usually about $30 to $40. They only have two settings, on and off, but it really does come in handy. I usually end up replacing these about once every 3 to 4 months. They don't last incredibly long. One of the nice things about it is, just has a rubber band holding it in place. The insert comes out. So every time I replace one of these, I keep the insert. Comes in handy because later on down the road you can always just swap out inserts if they get too dirty, if you don't have a chance to clean them. Very, very handy to have on hand. Second thing, which is what I use a lot more in all honesty, is the lunchbox stove. Now this guy really doesn't come in handy. I use it both as a stove top type solution, and I also use it for an in-oven type solution. I actually have two of these and I use both of them at the same time. It's one of my rules that I'm going to be doing for this show is only 12 volt devices. If you can't run it off 12 volt, I ain't doing it. It's going to come in handy for people who do not or cannot have an inverter in their truck. Third thing that I consider a kind of requirement to have, cutting boards. I keep two. And I have one that's green and one that's red. Now the red one I use only for meat. It's nice and easy to remember. That way, once again, I'm not cross-contaminating anything. Green I use for everything else, mainly vegetables. Speaking of meat, disposable gloves. You can pick these up in like the paint section of Walmart, and they come in real handy when you're handling the meat so you don't have to wash your hands right after. Another thing, aluminum foil. I always keep a bunch of this on hand. It's great for wrapping things up in this lunchbox stove or whatnot. If you want to make it a little bit easier on your slow cooker cleaning, you can always line your slow cooker with it as well. I don't do that personally, but you can. Speaking of aluminum, loaf pans. Use these for your lunchbox stove. They come in handy. They make it so you don't have to clean it nearly as often, and they actually have a lot more uses than most people think, which I'll be showing in a couple of videos. Now, I mentioned cutting things. Knives. I keep two. One large, one small. You never know when you're going to need a big knife. You never know when you're going to need a small one. So I keep two on hand. I got these types that have their own little sheath and everything. So that way I don't have to worry about stabbing myself when looking for them. Now, a couple of other things. I said 12 volt devices only. Inverter. On occasion I might use this, but this is a plug-in type inverter. You can pick them up at any truck stop. So I might use this on occasion. This is the only type inverter I'll use. So once again, keeping to the 12 volt device only rule. Aside from that, I got my cooler. I do not run a refrigerator in my truck. So the entire point of this is stuff that you can run in your truck, and I'm assuming you can get to a Walmart about once a week with all these ideas. So a lot of my recipes are going to be based around one main theme. This week I've been working on salmon, which I'll be coming up with a video on that pretty soon on a couple different ideas of how to cook some salmon in the truck. Getting to Walmart once a week, being able to pick up some supplies. Usually you don't pick up one piece of meat. So it's going to have an entree, it's going to have a side. So what you can fit into a cooler going once a week. Aside from that, a couple other things. Can opener. This will be your best friend. Measuring cups. I do recommend them. They're not required unless if you're doing some baking, which by the way you can do. I'll show you guys the recipe for that later on. It's not as healthy, but it's something to do. And it's a nice way to have a little treat on the side. If you are worried about your weight and stuff like that and you want to track calories, a scale. Now this scale I picked up at Walmart. I think it was right around 20 bucks. It's a digital scale. It runs off of batteries. It helps you so you can weigh the stuff you're putting in beforehand so you can get a more accurate calorie count. I do have a website where you can put in what you have, and it will tell you what the calories are per serving. So scale always comes in handy. And that is about it that I use in the truck. Very simple. There is a recommendation as well, and that is a digital meat temperature gauge. This one has a wire on it. Actually, is plugged in right now to the piece of meat that I'm cooking. It's actually already done. So it'll tell you very quickly if your meat is cooked. I will give you guys approximate cook time for all these things, but it can vary. For example, I'm cooking the salmon this week, and I've seen as low as 20 minutes to cook and as long as 45. So it does come in handy, especially when you have pieces of meat that don't have consistent thickness. So that's recommended. Now, a quick and easy idea for something to cook while you're in the truck. Take your slow cooker, throw a can of whatever vegetable you want. Carrots, green beans, whatever it may be, just throw the can in there. Well, obviously open it first and dump it in, but throw it in there. Now, you have two different ways you can do this, because these are always in water. You can either dump it with the water in there, or you can dump it without. It'll work both ways. If you do it without the water, sometimes you have a little bit of the vegetable sticking to the side after you're done. Sometimes you don't. But you just throw the can in there. I prefer it without the water. Throw a piece of chicken right on top of it. I recommend pat down the chicken with some paper towels. This is something we usually keep in the truck anyway. Pat down the chicken with some paper towels, maybe cut off some of the fat beforehand, and just toss it in there and season as you like. Now, the difference with the water or not is going to be how much that seasoning sticks to the chicken. So if you leave the water in there, it'll kind of water down the flavor a little bit, and it'll make it so it has less of that strong flavor of whatever seasoning you use. If you decide if you decide to dump out the water, you'll have a much stronger flavor for the seasoning. So it's up to you on what you do. Personally, I use Old Bay seasoning whenever I'm doing chicken. Comes out tasting great. So nice and easy, just throw it in there. 2.5 hours later, it's ready to eat. So quick and easy recipe to start this time. Next time, we're going to be looking at how to do some nice salmon. So you guys have a good one, and I'll talk to you later.